take a look at this image. This is what Hollywood wants you to believe Xerxes I looked like. A bald, pierced giant who thought he was a literal god. And look at the Spartans, fighting half naked with nothing but capes. But this is not history. It's a caricature. For centuries, the story of the 300 Spartans has been told as a battle of freedom against slavery or civilization against monsters. But as someone with roots in the Persian culture, I see a different story. A story of a sophisticated empire, a brilliant military campaign, and a battle where the numbers were not what they seemed. Today, we are tearing down the movie screen. We are going back to 480 BC to discover the dread history of Thermopylae. The myths end here. To understand the battle, we must first understand the man who led it. Xerxes was the Shahanshah, the king of kings. He didn't come from a land of darkness. He ruled the largest and most advanced empire the world had ever seen. The Achaemenid Empire was a miracle of its time. While the Greek city-states were constantly fighting each other, the Persian Empire had established the first global postal system, built incredible roads, and practiced a level of religious tolerance that was unheard of. From the mountains of modern-day Central Asia to the sands of Egypt, Xerxes could call upon soldiers of dozens of ethnicities. This wasn't a disorganized horde. This was a professional machine. Xerxes spent 4 years preparing this campaign. He didn't just want to win a war. He wanted to show the world that the power of the King of Kings was absolute. He was a man of culture, a builder of palaces, and a strategist managing millions of subjects across 3 continents. The greatest myth is the number of soldiers. Ancient historians claimed there were over 2 million. Let's be real. The logistics of feeding 2 million people in 480 BC would be impossible. Modern science proves the army was around 150 to 200,000. Still, even that number is staggering. To move this mass of people, Xerxes performed an engineering feat that left the Greeks speechless. He built a bridge of ships across the Hellespont. Not 1, but 2 bridges, made of over 600 galleys tied together with massive ropes. When a storm destroyed the first attempt, Xerxes famously ordered his men to lash the water with 300 lashes and threw shackles into the sea. Most people think he was insane. This was a calculated psychological act. He was telling his soldiers and his enemies that no force of nature, not even the gods of the sea, could stop his will. For 7 days and 7 nights, his army marched across that bridge.
Now, let's talk about the warriors. Hollywood turned the Persians into demonic ninjas, but the truth is much more impressive. These were the Jaidan, the Immortals. They didn't wear masks. They wore magnificent tunics of yellow and purple with gold jewelry. They were called Immortals because their unit was always kept at exactly 10,000 men. If one fell, another instantly took his place. But there is another myth, that Leonidas was alone. Hollywood says he brought 300 men. In reality, Leonidas led an allied army of about 7,000 Greek soldiers. There were men from Corinth, Arcadia, and Thespiae. The 300 Spartans were the elite spearhead, but they were part of a much larger professional force. They didn't go to the pass to die on the first day. They went there as a coordinated army to block the Persian machine. The battle lasted 3 days. On day 1, the Greeks used a false retreat.
They would turn and run, and when the Persians broke formation to chase them, the Greeks would spin around and crush them with their heavy bronze shields. On day 2, Xerxes sent the Immortals. But in that narrow mountain pass, their light equipment, designed for open plains, was a disadvantage against the Greek phalanx. Everything changed on the night of the second day. A local man named Ephialtes showed the Persians a hidden mountain path called the Anapeia Path. Xerxes immediately sent his commander, Hydarnes, and the remaining immortals on a night march through the mountains to surround the Greeks. Leonidas was trapped. Knowing the end was near, he sent the majority of his 7,000-man army away to save them for future battles. But he and his 300 Spartans, along with 700 Thespians and 400 Thebans, stayed to face the end. A final stand of roughly 1,400 men against the shadow of the king. The Greeks fought until their spears shattered. They fought with swords, then with their hands and teeth. In the end, the Persians finished them with a hail of arrows. Leonidas fell, and the pass was finally open. Xerxes won the battle. He marched on and burned Athens. But the cost was too high. He lost thousands of men and 2 of his own brothers. The bravery at Thermopylae, not just of the 300, but of the 1,400 who died together, gave the Greeks the time they needed to win later. This wasn't a war of good versus evil. It was a clash of titans, a struggle between 2 of the greatest military cultures to ever exist. One showed incredible logistical might. The other showed the power of disciplined defense. History is deeper than any movie. This is the truth of the 300. This is Dread History.